How do you like our flower today, guys? I feel like Catriona. This is a poinsettia plant that has been flowering in the garden for the past 2 months, so why not highlight this flower in today's video? Welcome to our channel, The Urban Jardinera, where you talk about plants and sustainable ideas at home in the garden. My name is Ding, I'm your jardinera from Cebu, and for today's video, it's just going to be a very quick one. I'll just be showing you how I'm going to repot our Philodendron Plowmanii and other creepers. In this video as well, I will be sharing with you some tips on how to pick the right and the ideal pot for your Philodendron Plowmanii. So if you like videos like this, subscribe to our channel and click that notification bell button so you will be notified every time we upload a video. Welcome back, guys. So as I have mentioned, we are going to repot our Philodendron Plowmanii, which is right here just beside me. So beautiful, huge leaves, right? Now a little bit of backstory about this plant. I am such a proud plant mom because this plant is a survivor. This has been damaged by a death. If you're not familiar, it's internationally known as Super Typhoon Rai, and it hit the Philippines around mid of December of last year. And it was very devastating and it was very scary, and it has made a lot of damage here at the garden and at our home as well. And as you can see, there are damaged leaves here, but these 3 huge beautiful leaves are already new leaves after a death, and this is just this plant is really bouncing back with a vengeance, and I'm such a proud plant mom. Now I feel guilty a little bit because it has been 3 months since it happened, and I just had the time to repot them, to give them a new home. This is already high time for us to repot because the stem is already starting to come out and crawl out of its pot. For the idea of this plant, guys, this still belongs in the Araceae family of plants, and the genus is Philodendron and the species is Plowmanii. This was named after the botanist Timothy Charles Plowman, who discovered this plant. So let's talk about how to repot your Philodendron Plowmanii. Now, any repotting session that you do in the garden, first principle is that you have to know and to understand the growing habit or the growing pattern of your plant. For this Philodendron Plowmanii, this is a terrestrial plant, meaning it's a creeper, it's a crawler. It just grows along the surface of your media or along the surface of the ground, so it does not climb, not like this. If you can see here, I have a very good example here. This is our squamiferum. So this is an example of a climbing plant where it just grows upwards, or epiphytic plant where it just attaches itself to any surface, like going upwards or to a tree or to a pole or totem. So this is a climbing plant. It's the exact opposite of our Plowmanii, which just grows horizontally along the ground. So let's just put it back. So now that we understand how our Plowmanii grows, we already have an idea what would be the best and the ideal shape of our pot, which is a rectangular pot like this right here. I'm going to show it to you later, but I have a very small space today, so I'm gonna just show it to you in a bit, and this is very, very heavy. Alright, so or if you don't have a rectangular pot, you can also use a circular pot, but it has like the circumference should be, or the diameter should be big enough so that we can give our plant enough room to grow as they grow again horizontally along your media. So okay, now that we know the shape, let's talk about the height or the depth of your pot. Now, depending on the size of the plant that you are going to repot, it should, like the height and the depth of your pot should support the weight and the size of your plant. Now, since I have a huge plant right here, I'm using an extra large pot, the largest pot that I can see in the store. I think this is 7 inches in height, and this is just perfect for the size and the height of our Philodendron Plowmanii. So now let's talk about The material of your pot. Are you going to use a clay pot or a plastic pot or a cement pot or fiber cement pot? Well, for me personally, it all depends on you. It's your personal preference, but I'll just be giving you some tips and pros and cons of the mostly used pot nowadays, which is the clay pot versus the plastic pot. Now, there are disadvantages and advantages on each material. The reason why I'm using this clay pot is just, number one, it's very porous for the plant. Now, aroid loves airy mixture, thus I think it would just make sense if we have like a porous pot, right? Second is that it has its natural corrugation and texture that the roots love. That's what I've noticed actually. They love to just circle around the pot, just on the sides of the pot, and that's something that promotes healthy growth system. And third, I just love the aesthetic look of it. It's very organic and very rustic, and I just love the color, and I love how natural it is. But it has also its downside, you know, like when your plant starts to go root bound, it's very difficult for us to, I mean, for me, I find it challenging to repot them if it's already a root bound plant. And also it's just so heavy, guys. I find it very challenging and very difficult to move around, you know, stuff in the garden when I have clay pots. I really need help when I do that. But aside from that, I just love clay pots. Also, let me just also talk about the advantages if you're going to use plastic pot. I love using plastic pots if I plan to propagate and resell after, because again, it's very easy to repot if you have a plastic pot. I guess the major takeaway if you're using a clay pot or a plastic pot is your watering schedule. You have to adjust your watering schedule because again, as I have mentioned, if you're using a clay pot, it's very porous and the media tends to dry quickly compared to using, you know, plastic pot. Let me just show you quickly our potting media and all the materials that we will be using. Now, I have a very porous mix here on top of the usual media that we use, like the materials that we use, like our cocoa cubes, our acacia leaves, and our pumice. I also added a little bit of charcoal, a little bit of sphagnum moss, and rice hull, and yeah, I think that's it. So I'll be putting the ratio somewhere here or here or here maybe, so you can check and maybe you can try it if you want. But this is our media for today, very very porous media, which aroids love. Okay, so I also have scissor just in case I need to cut something, and then I have our twine. This is to partner with our poles. Like I have poles here just to keep our plant stable, and then I also have like a shovel. Okay, now I think we are ready to repot. This is the clay pot that I will be using. I wanted to have like a cleaner, more minimalistic design, but this is the best that I can find. So I've changed the angle so you can see everything that we're going to do in this repotting. First thing is to loosen up all the roots that is also circling around this plastic pot and see if there is any fungus or any problem. I don't think there is because I don't see any yellowing and any issues with the leaves. It's just that it has been damaged by odets. Let's do this for a bit just to loosen up the soil and the media on the sides. Now I will be reusing these leaves here. I'll be putting that in our mix. I will be also using our shovel. Just very carefully, guys. We don't want to damage the root system. Let's see if we can already lift this up. Yep, this is good. Okay, now I'll set this aside because I'm going to prepare our pot. Just fill this up with our media, just halfway. So this should be enough. And try to lift it, holding the stem, guys, not the petiole. And then just loosen up some of the soil here. This is how I got this plant. This is still a porous mixture. It has a lot of very composed rice hull, and that's still okay for our aroid. And one tip that I can share with you guys, if you are repotting and say you are transitioning from this like semi soil mix to a soilless mixture, I do not just take out all the soil mixture and then replace it right away with our soilless media, because that will give the plant some shock. So what I usually do is that I incorporate some of this media. Now that if only you don't have any problem with the plant or you don't have any fungus whatsoever, and you would know anyways, because once you have like yellowing leaves and you have like rust and you have any other issues with the plant, that means that there might be some problems with your mix. So with this plant, it's very healthy, super healthy. I don't see any reason why I shouldn't incorporate some of the existing media when we are going to transition from semi-soilless media to our soilless media. Some gardeners would opt to cut some of these roots here, but for this video I'm not going to do that because I don't want to give a lot of stress to this plant. This is a preparation video for our propagation. Now the next thing to do is to fit this plant into our pot. I'll get some of the existing media as well. I'm slowly just tickling the sides. Now next thing to do is to just get everything situated here. We have to know the start of the growth, so our positioning should go right here, like that. We'll just have to fill this up with media and then we're good to go. Again, I incorporated some of the existing media with our new media, so not to shock the plant. So I'm going to use our totem and our twine. Now take a look at this one, guys. I have to keep this upright, right? Here's a ball of our existing media. Just put it right there. Ta-da! I think we're done filling out this pot with our media. Now I'll just have to put this under a bright indirect light. Hang on and I'll show it to you. So this is where I used to put our Philodendron Plowmanii, and I'll just be putting it back right there. And it has a net, like a DIY net that I placed there. These are just eco bags that I sewn together to create like nets. I think it's 80 to 90% shade. We have successfully repotted our Philodendron Plowmanii, and thank you so much for staying with me as I do the process. And I'll just be leaving the plant right there, and actually there's nothing much to do after this. I'll just have to water them as usual and as scheduled, and I'll be waiting. As I have mentioned, this is also preparation for us to propagate the plant. Maybe in a month or two I'll let you know. If you have any questions, if I missed something, and if you have any comments, suggestions, just comment down below. It has been a great repotting session with you guys. Thank you again for watching. Do not forget to subscribe if you like videos like this, and I'll see you in our next video. Bye!